Candle is not turning on. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another readings and isolation session. My name is Saman Giraud and I'll be your host this evening. And the beautiful music in the background is by our wonderful co-worker Kamyab Saderi. I will write his name down. Oh, hi! I'll write his name down once the reading is over. It's lovely, isn't it? All right, so much about the music. Thank you for the hearts. All right, so my name is Saman Giraud and I'll be reading for you from 1001 Nights. Again and again and again. So what happened so far, if you haven't tuned in? The story is about a beautiful prince called Kamar al-Zaman. And also the story is about Princess Budur, who is obviously also beautiful. And none of them wants to get married. So what happens is that their fathers get so upset and they lock down each of them in a tower and said, you know what? If you don't want to get married, you might as well just not leave the house, or the palace in that case. So Prince Kamar al-Zaman is visited by an Ifrit, and so is Princess Budur. Now, an Ifrit is an underworld demon. And these two Ifrits meet each other, and each of them says that they're watching over the most beautiful person in the world. So in order to prove the other wrong, what do? While both of them are asleep, the prince and the princess in their respective towers, they put them side by side to look at them. Now the princess wakes up and is totally smitten by the beauty of the prince, tries to wake him up, doesn't work, and she takes away the ring from his finger and puts it on her own. And then the Ifrit puts a spell on her, so she falls asleep. Then the prince wakes up, is smitten by her beauty, tries to wake her up, no chance, so he takes her ring and put it on his hand, and then he falls back asleep. The Ifrits separate the two again, put them each in their respective towers, and they wake up to find themselves alone, and no one believes them that they were actually spending the night with somebody else. And now they're seeking each other. So this is where we're going to continue. And it's the 189th night. Oh, all right. Now when it was the 189th night, she said, "It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that the vizier fared forth from the tower and ceased not running till he came in to King Shahriman, who said to him as he sighted him, O thou vizier, what man hath brought thee to grief, and whose mischief hath treated thee in way on leave? How happeneth it that I see thee dumbfounded and coming to me thus astounded?" Replied the vizier, "O king, I bring thee good news." "And what is it?" quoth Shahriman. And quoth the vizier, "Know that thy son, Kamar al-Zaman's wits are clean gone, and that he hath become stark mad." Now when the king heard these words of the minister, light became darkness in his sight. And he said, "O vizier, make clear to me the nature of his madness." Answered the vizier, "O my lord, I hear and I obey." Then he told him that such and such had passed, and acquainted him with all that his son had done. Whereupon the king said to him, "Hear, O vizier, the good tidings which I give thee in return for this thy fair news of my son's insanity. And it shall be the cutting off of thy head, and the forfeiture of my favour, O most ill-omened of viziers and foulest of emirs. For I feel that thou hast caused my son's disorder by the wicked advice and the sinister counsel thou hast given me first and last. By Allah, if aught of mischief or madness have befallen my son, I will most assuredly nail thee upon the palace stone and make thee drain the bitterest draught of death." Then he sprang up and taking the vizier with him, fared straight for the tower and entered it. And when Kamar Zaman saw the two, he rose to his father in haste from the couch whereon he sat, and kissing his hands drew back, and hung down his head, and stood before him with his arms behind him, and thus remained for a full hour. Then he raised his head towards his sire, the tears gushed from his eyes and streamed down his cheeks, and he began repeating, "Forgive the sin 'neath which my limbs are trembling, for the slave seeks for mercy from his master. I've done a fault which calls for free confession. Where shall it call for mercy and forgiveness?" When the king heard this, he arose and embraced his son, and kissing him between the eyes, made him sit by his side on the couch. Then he turned to the vizier, and, looking on him with eyes of wrath, said, "O dog of viziers, how didst thou say of my son such and such things, and make my heart quake for him?" Then he turned to the prince and said, "O my son, what is today called?" He answered, "O my father, this day is the Sabbath, and tomorrow is first day, then comes second day, third, fourth, fifth day, and lastly Friday." Exclaimed the king, "O my son, O Kamar al-Zaman, praised be Allah for the preservation of thy reason. What is the present month called in our Arabic?" "Zul-Qa'dah," answered Kamar al-Zaman, "and it is followed by Zul-Hijjah, then cometh Muharram, then Safar, then Rabi'a the first and Rabi'a the second, the two Jumadas, Rajab, Shaban, Ramazan, and Shawwal." At this the king rejoiced exceedingly and spat in the vizier's face, saying, "O wicked old man, how canst thou say that my son is mad? And now none is mad but thou." Hereupon the minister shook his head and would have spoken, but bethought himself to wait a while and see what might next befall. Then the king said to his child, "O my son, what words be these thou saidest to the eunuch and the vizier, declaring, 'I was sleeping with a fair damsel this night'? What damsel is this of whom thou speakest?" Then Kamar Zaman laughed at his father's words and replied, "O my father, know that I can bear no more jesting. So add me not another mock, or even a single word on the matter, for my temper hath waxed short by that you have done with me. And know, O my father, with assured knowledge, that I consent to marry, but on condition that thou give me to wife her who lay by my side this night. For I am certain it was thou sentest her to me, and madest me in love with her, and then dispatchedst a message to her before the dawn, and tookest her away from beside me." Rejoined the king, "The name of Allah encompass thee about, O my son, and be thy wit preserved from witlessness." And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of day, and ceased to say her permitted say. Joanna. Thank you. Hi, Joanna. For those tuning in right now, my name is Saman Giraud, and this is 1001 Nights. Now when it was the 190th night, she said, "It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that quoth King Shahriman to his son Kamar Zaman, 'The name of Allah encompass thee about, O my son, and be thy wit preserved from witlessness. What thing be this young lady whom thou fanciest? I sent to thee last night, and then again that I sent to withdraw her from thee before dawn. By the Lord, O my son, I know nothing of this affair, and Allah upon thee tell me if it be a delusion of dreaming or a deception caused by indisposition.'" Excuse me if you can hear this, it's my cat snoring. For verily thou layest down to sleep last night with thy mind occupied anent marriage and troubled with the talk of it. Allah damn marriage and the hour when I spake of it and curse him who counselled it. And without doubt or diffidence I can say that being moved in mind by the mention of wedlock, thou dreamedst that a handsome young lady embraced thee and didst fancy thou sawest her when awake. But all this, O my son, is but an imbroglio of dreams. Replied Kamar Zaman, leave this talk and swear to me by Allah, the All-Creator, the Omniscient, the Humbler of the tyrant Caesars and the Destroyer of the Khosrows, that thou knowest naught of the young lady, nor of her wanting place. Quoth the king, by the might of Allah Almighty, the God of Moses and Abraham, I know naught of all this, and never even heard of it. It is assuredly a delusion of dreams thou hast seen in sleep. Then the prince replied to his sire, I will give thee a self-evident proof that it happened to me when awake. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of day and ceased saying her permitted say. Now when it was the 191st night, she said, it hath reached me, auspicious king, that Kamar Zaman said to his sire, I will give thee a self-evident proof that this happened to me when awake. Now let me ask thee, did it ever befall any man to dream that he was battling a sore battle, and after to awake from sleep and find in his hand a sword blade besmeared with blood? Answered the king, no, by Allah, O my son, this hath never been. Rejoined Kamar Zaman, I will tell thee what happened to me, and it was this. Meseemeth I awoke from sleep in the middle of the past night, and found a girl lying by my side, whose form was like mine, and whose favour was as mine. I embraced her and turned her about with my hand, and took her seal ring, which I put on my finger, and she pulled off my ring and put it on hers. Then I went to sleep by her side, but refrained from her for shame of thee, deeming that thou hadst sent her to me, intending to tempt me with her and incline me to marriage, and suspecting thee to be hidden somewhere whence thou couldst see what I did with her. And I was ashamed even to kiss her on the mouth for thy account, thinking over this temptation to wedlock. And when I awoke at point of day, I found no trace of her, nor could I come at any news of her, and there befell me what thou knowest of with the eunuch and with the vizier. How then can this case have been a dream and a delusion, when the ring is a reality? Save for her ring on my finger, I should indeed have deemed it a dream, but here it is, the ring on my little finger. Look at it, O king, and see what it is worth. So saying, he handed the ring to his father, who examined it and turned it over, then looked to his son and said, verily there is in this ring some mighty mystery and some strange secret. What befell thee last night with the girl is indeed a hard nut to crack, and I know not how intruded upon us this intruder. None is the cause of all this pother, save the vizier, but Allah upon thee, O my son. Take patience, so haply the Lord may turn to gladness this thy grief, and to thy sadness bring complete relief. As quoth one of the poets, haply shall fortune draw her rein, and bring fair chance, for she is changeful, jealous, vain. Still I may woo my want and wishes win, and see on heels of care unfeigned the fame. And now, O my son, I am certified at this hour that thou art not mad, but thy case is a strange one, which none can clear up for thee save the Almighty. Cried the prince, by Allah, O my father, deal kindly with me and seek out this young lady and hasten her coming to me, else I shall die of woe, and of my death shall no one know. Then he betrayed the ardour of his passion, and turned towards his father and repeated these two couplets. If your promise of personal call prove untrue, deign in vision to grant me an interview. Quoth they, how can phantom appear to the side of a youth whose sight is foredone, perdu? Then, after ending his poetry, Kamar Zaman again turned to his father with submission and despondency, and shedding tears in flood began repeating these lines. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of day and ceased to say her permitted say. Whoever tuned in right now, we're done. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If you tuned in right now, welcome, and you can rewatch it in a few minutes. I hope you enjoyed the reading. As for the Arabic months, I had to Google them, and I tried my best to pronounce it correctly. So if I didn't, please, I really tried my best. I wish you all a wonderful night, a peaceful night, sweet dreams, much, much love in these times, wherever you are. And as usual, remember to go inwards instead of outwards. Wishing you all a wonderful night.